Stop the insanity. Get your focus back onto what really matters in life. Your faith, your family, your finances, and your future. Sit back, listen, and change the trajectory of your life. You are listening to the Money for Life podcast. Let's welcome your hosts, Teresa Kuhn and Rick Sapio.
Hello, everyone. This is Rick Sapio, and I am with Teresa Kuhn, my partner on Money for Life. Have you ever thought about preparing your own eulogy? And many people have said to me, why the hell would I want to prepare my own eulogy? This is the best thing you could possibly do to prepare for a fulfilling life. Think about it. If you know what your eulogy is going to be, and you know what's going to be written on your tombstone, that means every day today can be fully expressed, can be a fulfilling opportunity to live your life your way. So many people, they wake up in the morning and they're like pinballs bouncing around all over the place. So I was inspired by a friend of mine who created a tombstone, and he wrote his tombstone out. I'm going to read what his tombstone says, and he's very much alive, but he thought, wouldn't it be cool to have my tombstone now? It says, here lies, I don't want to say his name because he's kind of private. Here lies Bob, who was disliked by some but loved by more, while he challenged the hearts and minds of the mediocre, as he, without sacrifice, improved the world in significant ways. So this guy was all about challenging the status quo and trying to, I don't know if I like the wording choice, but for him it's empowering. He sees himself as a liberator of mediocrity. He wants everybody to live the most fulfilling life. So let me read it again. Here lies Bob, who was disliked by some but loved by more, while he challenged the hearts and minds of the mediocre. He, without sacrifice, improved the world in significant ways. That's pretty cool. I mean, that was, for him, is what he wants his tombstone to say. But I want to take it to another level, Teresa. In an organization that I've been in for a long time called YPO, our small group of 10 challenged each other. And we did the Coffin Exercise, which takes us to another level. And we got a coffin, and each person in the group laid in the coffin as if they were dead. And the other members of the group said what they would say if they were at that person's wake. And you're in the coffin with your eyes closed, listening to what people would say about you. Imagine that exercise. Wow. Pretty cool. So I would encourage everybody listening to get a group of friends, get a coffin, get a couple glasses of wine, and you want to talk about how people feel about you. Nobody ever expresses how they feel about you. So that's a pretty cool exercise to do.
Rick, I love that exercise. And wow, it just brings tears to my eyes thinking about the tombstone and the eulogy and the coffin and how we're going to feel if we have the opportunity to reflect on our life before we die. Not everybody does. And that coffin exercise, was it more about feeling loved by your fellow group members, or was it about them telling you the truth about where you are in life at that moment and whether you're actually on purpose and living the fulfilled life that you want? Because that could go two ways. I could see how it would be greatly beneficial to know that you're loved and cherished. And I think it could be very beneficial to be smacked in the face and say, hey, buddy, you could die today. You're not living on purpose. You're not living to the potential. You're not making the impact. You're not fulfilling God's plan for your life.
I love the question. So I heard a quote a long time ago, and it said, what do you do with a flower? And then the answer was, you admire a flower. And that's the way to get it to bloom. And when human beings interact with each other, we rarely look at each other as we would look at a flower. But that's what I would say God would want us to do. Admire each other. Don't judge and evaluate and all the things that humans do. When you're in your coffin and your friends are reading a eulogy, their eulogy for you, what they would say when you're dead, it's almost like a form of admiration. You feel so appreciated that it actually motivates you, changes your DNA to be much more like what they remember about you. Unfortunately, people don't say positive things about you until you're dead, hopefully. If they're saying negative things about you after you're dead, that's not good. But oftentimes what happens is you have a grudge against somebody, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. And then when they're dead, all of a sudden they're a hero. Ronald Reagan, I'll never forget when he died, the left and the right and conservatives, Republicans, liberals, Democrats, whatever. Everybody had glowing things to say about Ronald Reagan. Not when he was alive, but only after he died. So here's the point, and here's an answer to your question. I think it's motivating as hell for you to do that exercise, number one. And number two, when I say number one, I mean the exercise of having a group of people actually play it out with you in a coffin. But number two, for you to think about, what do you want your tombstone to say? What do you want if you were writing your own eulogy? What would you want it to say? So I took it personally to another level. My wife said that you're crazy, but I said, honey, please trust me. I asked her to write my eulogy, and I couldn't believe what I read. I was bawling my eyes out reading it. She didn't take it seriously, but then she talked to her mom, and her mom's like, why not? Just do it. And so she wrote it. So we're giving you 3 opportunities to do an exercise here. Opportunity 1 is to do the coffin exercise. Opportunity 2 is to write what you want your tombstone to say, like a really short sentence. And opportunity 3 is to get with the people closest to you and ask them to write your eulogy as if you were dead or you were dying. And you'd be surprised. I've asked 2 people in my life to write my eulogy, and both did it reluctantly, I must admit, but they did it, and it was powerful reading that.
Rick, it must be incredibly healing for a family. Imagine a family to get together, family, extended family, sisters, brothers, parents, children, to get together and do it as a family exercise. Because so often, like you said, there's so much conflict and so much dysfunction in family that we don't appreciate or focus on all the good. We're always focusing on how mom triggered me because of something she said, or my daughter did this, or whatever, right? How incredibly healing it must be to do that exercise. I think, oh, wow, I'm going to think about that one.
It's funny, we never know how these conversations are going to go. And if you're listening, I hope you're motivated to do something here. This is like one of those really simple, duh type of things. It's nothing but upside. It's nothing but benefit for you to take the time to do these simple things. I mean, by time this podcast is over in the next few minutes, you could probably already think of what you want your tombstone to say. So you've already done one exercise today. You could probably send an email to your spouse or your best friend and say, hey, if I were to ask you to do my eulogy, would you write down what you want me to say? Boom. You just handled that in a minute. The coffin exercise is a little bit different. It takes some preparation, but the next time you're with a group of friends, you could just put a bed there and lay down and say, okay, I want you to do an exercise. All right, everyone. And now this is a message from our sponsor, the 100-Year Savings Solution. Teresa and I do these podcasts because we are very committed to you having wealth in your life. And that wealth is long-term wealth. And how do you get wealth? You get wealth by employing the barbell investment strategy, in which you focus on creating a foundation of wealth using specially designed whole life insurance from a mutually owned insurance company. And you're going to get higher returns with far less risk. I call it risk-free, but it's far less risk than you can get anywhere else in the world. And once you have that financial foundation set up, the rest of your wealth creation is almost automatic. Go to www.100yearsavings.com. So unfortunately, in today's society, because every moment of our lives seems to be filled with really important things like Netflix and fantasy football and social media, we don't have time to do the really, really important things. But I'm going to urge you to do this one, because this has so much fruit, so much incredible fruit. So Teresa, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you going to send the email right now to somebody, and who would you send it to?
Wow, you are putting me on the spot. And I'll put you back on the spot. I'm going to send an email to you asking you to send me a eulogy.
Oh, that is horrible. That was not planned at all. And I think that's bullshit.
And neither was the plan of you asking me to send somebody a eulogy.
Oh.
Touche.
Well, I'm going to have a lot of F-bombs. And
yes, I'm sure you've got plenty of F-bombs and all sorts of bombs to send my way, but that's okay. Hey, the exercise can be very healing and very revealing. That is the whole point. I learned a long time ago with my son, and actually when I was studying parenting before I had my child, because I wanted to do it right. I mean, that was so important to me to do it right. And so many times what I had learned is we parent either as a reaction of how we were parented, whether we liked it or we didn't, or unconsciously exactly like our parents parented us, right? And I guess both would be unconscious. I tried to consciously parent based on what my child needed, but I remember consciously parenting, letting my son know how absolutely much I adored him. And I don't think there's anybody else on this planet that I have expressed as much adoration and love as I have to him. And as he gets older, it's certainly less. I'm not going around telling him how much I love him, although I tell him daily, I love you, but not the way I did when he was younger. And imagine if we did that with all the important people in our lives. We just let them know how much we adored and loved them. The world would be a better place.
Yeah, that's what this exercise is all about. It's about admiring people. It's funny that you brought up parenting, though, when it comes to admiration, because I was the last sibling of the 9 in my family to have children. I can honestly say, having my first child, I think I just turned 45 after my child was born, I think. After my first was born. My last one, I was over 50. There is zero connection between how I was raised and how my siblings raised their kids and me. My wife and I were very conscious of everything we did. I think what you just said is important, that what decisions are we making in our lives that are unconscious because they're related to past programming. And raising kids is one of those really important ones that should be 100% conscious.
You know, especially when it comes to parenting, think about the tombstone, think about the contribution you want to make to your children's life. Like, how do you want to be remembered by them? And it's not about giving the child everything they want so they say nice things about you, because, you know, that doesn't work. That's not parenting. That's dealing with your needs, not the child's needs. But I've got to think about this specifically now that my son is 24 years old and we have a very different relationship today than we did when we were younger. And we are in business together as a family, and he's a partner in many ways and still a son. So how do I want to inform his impression and memory of me when I'm gone? Very interesting. So I'm going to give that some thought. Rick, I absolutely loved this conversation. I love the topic. I love how deep all these experiences are that you've had. You are such a unique individual. And to the audience, we care deeply, deeply about you. That's why we take the time and energy to bring you this information and these conversations in the form of a podcast. This is Teresa Kuhn with Money for Life.
You have just experienced Money for Life. Implement these strategies today and create a life by design. Have a blessed day.